FACEIT Master League pits the best teams of North America against each other, and while not the same spectacle as OWCS, it is absolutely the peak of NA competition. Shikigami, who got top 8 in OWCS, just played Nightmare, who got second. While one may expect this match to be close, Shikigami learned that there is a clear difference between being the best and being the best of the best, getting stomped and losing in 0-3 fashion. This video will highlight Ilios, certainly Nightmare's most dominant map of the series, in which every single member of Shikigami had a negative KD, and each member of Nightmare only died one time. But how? How does one top team steamroll another? On Ilios, this utter dominance from Nightmare is in no small part thanks to Clear on D.Va, who held so much space it was as if Shikigami were walking into a brick wall. The game starts out on Ilios Lighthouse, with Shikigami starting on a traditional dive comp with Ana, Brigitte, Tracer, Echo, and Winston, while Nightmare starts out on a similar comp, but with D.Va instead of Winston and Ashe instead of Echo. While Nightmare send their entire team to the standard high ground position, Shikigami only sends their supports up there, opting for Mari and Razor to attempt to take control of Cage, while Lampent pokes from the outskirts of the map. After getting tagged from across space and time by CJ, Lampent opts to rotate through the Mega, aiming to take control of point side. Lampent doesn't even have time to finish this rotation before Clear takes control of the game, taking an aggressive position under Shikigami's high ground, and fighting Mari with the help of Zira, forcing them to jump back up to high ground and reset positioning. Lampent gets forced out once more by shots from Seeker and CJ, who are uncontested on the high ground. Clear and Zira use this opportunity to take control of point. At the same time, Mari looks to walk through the cage once more while Razor attempts to stop Nightmare from capturing the point. Seeing Mari's rotation, Clear keeps a close eye on the Winston, flying back over to friendlies as soon as they see the jump in order to stop the Winston from taking control of the high ground. Clear then recognizes that Mari was whooped off by Admiral's whip shot, and then immediately goes back to point to help Razor win the Tracer duel. Mari goes for one more dive only to get peeled again by Clear, who then returns to point to stop Razor from capturing it for Shikigami. During this time, Seeker caught Lampent's rotation through Cage and swiftly picks them off, causing Shikigami to reset. The first thing we can learn about D.Va from Clear's gameplay is how insanely active one must be, responding to the situation of the game every time and changing positions accordingly. In the span of 50 seconds, they went from friendly high ground to the opponent's side of Cage, to point, back to friendly high ground, back to point, to friendly high ground once more, and finally, one more time back to point. Absolutely no motion was wasted either, as every single one of these movements not only had a plan in mind, but successfully completed that plan. When Clear wanted to force out Razor, Razor was forced out. When Clear wanted to stop Mari's dive, they did. Not only was Clear incredibly active, but Clear was managing to stop plays made by Mari and Razor at the same time, practically making it a 4 versus 3 for the rest of their team. Moving on to the next team fight, Lampent swaps off of the Echo onto the Ashe, opting for a dive composition that is more passive, but takes better advantage of the high grounds on either side of the map. Seeker sets up above the point on the high ground. This position is very oppressive and makes taking the high ground extremely dangerous. With the threats of Seeker's dynamite from one side and CJ's anti-nade from another, it just isn't worth the risk for Shikigami, who decide to rotate their supports through the low ground. Seeing that Shikigami is looking to send their supports into Cage, Clear opts to fly all the way around to the friendly side of Cage, pushing through it to fight Shikigami's supports, who kite into Mega. Clear then continues the pressure, flying in and out of the room for more damage and pressure onto Shikigami's Ana. During this time, 4 members of Nightmare have had nothing but time to shoot at Mari, breaking bubble and forcing them out. Mari makes the mistake of jumping away from their dive into Clear, and is quickly sent back to spawn as punishment. When the other team has point control and you have absolutely no space, there's no real way to win a team fight, so despite losing only one member again, Shikigami reset. For the next fight, Shikigami decide to deal with Seeker's position above the point to try to make space for their backline on the high ground. Lampent rotates towards the cage, getting a nice view of Seeker's head, while Mari jumps Admiral. Mari then receives a nano boost, and takes their dive deep into Nightmare's backline with the help of Razor's Pulse Bomb, confidently executing CJ and Admiral. During this, Clear and Zira try to bring the pain to Lampent, who is alone on the low ground, and while they force Lampent to coach gun up to Anian and Noctis for help, they don't get the same resounding success of 2 kills that Shikigami did. This was the only team fight that Nightmare lost on all of Ilios, so what happened? Why didn't Clear try to force out Mari? Moreover, why did Clear opt to force out Mari's dive on the first fight, but not the second or third? These decisions, as well as the key to Clear's absolute dominance on this map, all come down to their flawless understanding of danger levels. Danger levels is the concept of looking at what threats your opponents can apply, and using your own threat to stop them from getting kills or taking space. Let's take another look at first fight, when Clear decides to peel Mari's dives. For both of these dives, Mari is trying to land on Nightmare's high ground. This position is not particularly lethal, but it does put pressure onto Seeker and CJ, which would stop them from being able to clip Lampent's wings. Lampent, as Echo, has a lot of instant burst potential, so any aggression has potential to get a kill onto Nightmare's backline. Moreover, if Mari were to land up here, they can get healing from Anian, while remaining safe from the damage of Nightmare's backline. Essentially, this position is dangerous because it could enable Lampent to get a kill while also putting Mari in an aggressive position that is really difficult for Seeker, Admiral, and CJ to do anything about. Recognizing this, Clear ensures to fight Mari as soon as possible each time this dive is attempted. The best way for Clear to stop this jump from Mari from creating danger is to make Mari leave, so Clear focuses down Mari to do just that. Applying danger levels to the second fight, it is crucial for Clear to recognize that Lampent is on Ashe rather than Echo. An important concept understood at higher levels of gameplay is that Winston alone, and even Winston alongside Tracer, pose virtually no threat at actually eliminating an Ana Brig so long as there are no outside factors. They might be scary, but they are not lethal. Thus, the danger of Mari's dive this fight does not come from Mari themselves, but the potential space made for their backline. Even if Clear were to fly at Mari after their jump and make them go back to their team, during this time, Lampent could have advanced to a more aggressive position. This interaction would overall result in more space for Shikigami, which is not ideal for Clear. Once again, applying great understanding of danger levels and what part of Shikigami's dive is actually dangerous to their team, Clear puts continuous pressure onto Anian, Noctis, and Lampent, stopping them from walking through Cage, and shoving them all into the uncomfortable Mega. By doing this, even though Mari might be forced out slower, nobody else on Shikigami's team gets space from the dive. So then, back to third fight. Surely this changes, right? A Tracer alongside a Nanoed Winston pose a very prominent kill threat to Nightmare's backline. While this may be true, there's a little bit more to danger levels than just who on the other team is the most dangerous. While this dive from Mari and Razor with Nano certainly does have potential to eliminate CJ, Seeker, and Admiral, this does not mean that Clear should be peeling it. First off, Nano Boost has a large damage reduction on it, so even if Clear did turn around to shoot Mari, it's unlikely to force them out much faster.
Who threw that piece of paper at me?
Secondly, if you were an Ana, would you rather deal with a Nanoed Winston diving you, or a Nanoed Winston diving you and an enemy Ashe looking at you? Clear chooses to fight Lampent because Clear cannot do anything to make Mari leave. Clear cannot create danger on the biggest threat, so they opt to create danger on the second biggest one, aiming to give their backline the best possible chance of survival. Unfortunately, despite Clear making the correct play, Razor still hits the Pulse Bomb, which wins Shikigami the fight. For the rest of the video, I encourage viewers to pay close attention to how Clear deals with threats. Clear generally tends to focus on threats one at a time, wanting to force them out before they can collapse together. Whenever two threats do come at the same time, Clear makes a very crucial decision as to who is more dangerous and who Clear can actually impact. By making these decisions, Clear is able to completely oppress, shut down, and demolish Shikigami's dive composition. Going into the next fight, Nightmare's backline opts to rotate towards the low ground. Clear first threatens Shikigami out of and away from Cage to create some space, then applies danger levels once more. While Ashe is the main concern once Mari is attacking Nightmare's backline, before then, Clear can try to avoid that threat altogether by stopping Mari from getting a successful dive. After Clear pressures Mari and hinders their dive not only once, but twice, Seeker opts to throw Bob on point, starting the capture. After this, all hell breaks loose inside Cage, with both teams investing several ultimates, and Nightmare come out on top, winning them the team fight and the point. Had Clear not been forcing Mari out during this early poke phase, this fight may have gone very differently for Nightmare. Moving on to Ilios Well, Nightmare is playing the same composition, whereas Shikigami has opted to go back to the Echo. Both teams roll out with their backlines on the primary high ground, and, similar to Lighthouse, Clear immediately makes an aggressive play with Zira, attempting to force Mari out of their aggressive position. Remember, Clear doesn't have to worry about stopping any threats if the Winston doesn't get to jump in. Shikigami, however, is prepared for it this time, with Lampent putting additional pressure onto Clear, making room for Mari to set up for their jump. Lampent, however, makes the unfortunate mistake of not landing back on the high ground with Noctis, and is eliminated for this mistake. Recognizing the lack of a third threat on their backline, and thus the lack of a need to peel, Clear opts to try to eliminate Noctis and Anian, rather than turning around to fight Mari, who has successfully engaged on Nightmare's backline. This decision wins the point for Nightmare, and Shikigami reset. Up to this point in the map, Clear has been nothing but a thorn in Shikigami's side, stopping multiple threats every single fight. It is at this point, however, that Clear's dominant understanding of the matchup starts not only beating Shikigami, but completely suffocating them. Clear starts on the top right side of the opponent's high ground, aiming to put pressure on Shikigami's backline as they try to rotate to the same position they took on the first fight. To this end, Clear flies around and boops an Echo and a Brig off of this high ground, each time slowing the rotation and setup that Shikigami wants to take. This utter oppression of their backline gets Mari eliminated while setting up, before they even got a chance to dive. And that's not the end of Mari's nightmare either. After some cleanup and a reset from Shikigami, Nightmare is set up extremely aggressively, with a look right into Shikigami's spawn. Aiming to zone this and make space for their backline to rotate, Mari stages to jump onto the bridge. As Mari jumps, Clear quickly recognizes that there is no danger being created from this dive. Mari's team is nowhere to be found, and thus could not possibly take space from this, so Clear turns around and eliminates Mari with the rest of Nightmare. After one final reset for Shikigami, it is now that we get to the teamfight from the thumbnail. Perhaps as a real strategy, and perhaps as a little bit of disrespect, Clear flies above Shikigami's spawn, stalling on top of the ship. Shikigami has to get to the point soon to trigger overtime, so Mari, Lampent, and Razor all leave spawn from the right side doorway. Noctis and Anion, however, are having none of it, and would rather wait for Clear to leave than risk getting stalled by them for ages. This decision is what ends the map for Shikigami. With their frontline trying to leave to touch point, and their backline miles away still in spawn, nothing can stop Nightmare from picking each individual member of Shikigami, winning them the map in dominant fashion. Clear's utter dominance in this map came both from their high activity, going from one place to another to stop any threats from being made on Nightmare's backline, along with using danger levels to know exactly which threats to mark and at what times to give them the best chance of surviving Mari's dives and stopping them from getting value.